In this brief history of the bicycle, I'm going to bring you through a general timeline of the changes that happened in bicycle design, as well as the specific changes that happened in the frame, the bike wheel, gear shifters, and bikes of the future. In 1818, Carl von Drais invents his running machine. Made from wood, the device was propelled by direct contact of the rider's foot with the ground. The rider sits in the center of the bike, on the saddle, and is able to steer the machine. The disadvantages of this bike include a really unreliable brake system, and that people at the time really didn't like getting their feet dirty, so this led to some innovation. In 1821, Gompertz tried to get around the dirty foot problem by adding footholds to his velocipede. He also added some hand levers to propel the bike, but this design didn't really catch on. In 1839, Macmillan develops the back-wheel-driven bicycle. This machine was propelled forward by the rider's feet on the pedals. In 1858, the Michauds patent the Michelin, with a wrought iron frame, wooden wheels, and pedals attached to the front wheel hub. You brake the bike by pressing back on the pedals. Two big issues arise when you attach pedals to the front wheel. So when you turn the wheel actually makes contact with your leg, which is a potential for injury, and it makes it really difficult to pedal and steer at the same time. Also, when going downhill, the pedals would spin dangerously out of control. In 1866, James Starley invents the penny farthing. Made of steel and solid rubber tires, in the later 1870s they were modified for racing to be even lighter and faster, with a larger front wheel, which was easy to tip forward due to the seat position. In 1879, we get a bit closer to the modern-day bike with Henry Lawson's bicyclette. These are also known as safety bikes because they were definitely safer than the penny farthing in terms of headers. This has a chain attached to the rear wheel, and the seat positioning is further back behind the front wheel. In 1885, J.K. Starling makes the Rover safety bicycle, getting even closer to the modern-day bike. The two wheels are really close in size. There is a front fork pivot. The seat is lower than high-wheelers, and a more reliable chain is present. In 1892, the classic diamond frame bicycle with a saddle tube became popularized. The spring saddle helped with shock absorption for a smoother ride. The wheels were equal size, and pneumatic tires were being used widely. In 1898, the free wheel was widely adopted. This allowed people to rest from pedaling while keeping their feet on the pedals with the wheels still moving. This decreased the risk of injury from the pedals slamming into your legs. Throughout the 1900s, there were many electric bike designs being developed, but majority did not make it to production. One of these was in 1938, where Thomas MacDonald files for one of the earliest examples of a bike with an electric motor mounted to the front wheel, but this didn't make it to production. In 1979, Joe Breeze develops a sturdier frame and a better suspension system for mountain biking. In 1984, cogs, or gears on the rear wheel, are now regularly added to the rear gear cluster. Either called cassettes or freewheel clusters, these can increase the number of speeds from 15 to 18, 21, and 24. The first pedal electric bike, where pedaling causes the motor to assist the rider, was developed in 1989 by Michael Cutter. In 1993, Maverick invented the first electric derailleurs. Derailleurs are devices that move the chain from one cog to another, assisting in gear shifting. These electric derailleurs allow the rider to make quicker and more accurate shifts. However, the first models didn't do very well in the rain. In 2009, Shimano introduced electronic gears, and when combined with better derailleurs, they enable you to skip multiple gears when shifting, and they're also better in the rain. In the past decade, road bikes have mostly changed in terms of materials to make them lighter and faster. Disc brakes have become a very popular form of braking, as they can handle much greater force due to stronger design. And the all-road bike was introduced, which has characteristics of road bikes, touring bikes, and mountain bikes that make it fast, comfortable, and durable. Bike packing has also become more popular as new racks are developed to distribute the weight across the bike. Let's go back to the beginning to see exactly how and why the frame changed. Von Dreis's original running machine had a relatively straight frame. However, soon after the invention, Johnson altered the frame by creating a more serpentine shape. This allowed for larger wheels, while the center straddle position remained the same. In the 1860s, Michaud's velocipede used metal instead of a wooden frame, reducing the weight and allowing for more mass production. In 1868, the diagonal frame was found to be much stronger, and the frames broke far less with this shape as opposed to the serpentine one. In 1870, there were hollowed sections of steel, which allowed frames to be lighter and thereby allowed for smoother rides. In 1879, Henry Lawson altered the shape of the high-wheeler to make it more practical. This time it had a single beam going down from the steering head to the rear fork, with a vertical seat tube going down to the pedal crank structure. In 1885, the diamond frame became the most common shape due to its durability. The top tube of the diamond frame was also slanted in some versions. The slant downward made the frame weaker and less triangulated, but it also allowed women to get on and off more easily with their skirts that were really common at the time. By the late 1890s, diamond frames had evolved to the ones we primarily see today. They had straight steel tubes, a long wheelbase, a bottom bracket that was part of the frame, a roller chain driving the rear wheel, and wheels equal in size. Steel tubing also became the prevailing material used to build frames, making them light and strong. Now let's dive into the evolution of the wheel. The wheel was most likely originated in Mesopotamia around 3500 BC. During the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century, advancements in technology allowed for the wheel to be utilized in human-powered machines. A bike that is basically all-wheel, the penny farthing has a huge size disproportion between the front and the back wheel. One pedal rotation is equal to one rotation of a large wheel. This made going uphill a real challenge, but it was very easy to go fast on flat zones. Because the cyclist was so high off the ground and perched just above the wheel, it was really easy to do a header or fly head first off of the bike. So this made the penny farthing a really dangerous machine. The safety bike with two wheels of equal size greatly reduced the risk of headers. The spokes on these bikes used to be made of wood, but are now made of steel, aluminum, and carbon composites, which lowers the wheel weight. This is important because every time you push the pedals, you have to accelerate the weight of the wheel forward around the center, which is increasing the angular and linear motion simultaneously. Tires were made first of leather, then solid rubber attached to a wooden or metal rim. In 1888, pneumatic tires or air pressurized tires were added to biking, and this improved the experience greatly as it smoothed the ride even more. Depending on the environment that one bikes in, the tire width needs to change with that environment. A thinner tire on asphalt won't flatten as much. This means there's less surface area on the road, causing less friction, which results in higher speeds. Fat tires, on the other hand, flatten more on asphalt. On dirt, they float on top of the surface. Thin tires, however, would dig themselves a hole in the dirt. The addition of the chain and cog to the bicycle allowed for much more efficient pedaling. It allowed you to go faster, it was easier to pedal uphill, and it ultimately allowed more choice over cadence. Bicycle designs of the future might be letting go of the design that we're so accustomed to, such as the seat tube or the frame. Some bike designs like to incorporate a lot of technology, such as the Furious sport bike concept with an onboard computer that gives you data on speed, distance, and caloric consumption. Another example of technology integration includes this intelligent bike concept, where they have solar-powered backup motors and fingerprint scanners to start your bike. Not only will we see integration of technology into bikes, but we'll also see the continued efforts to create even lighter bicycle designs, if that means lighter frames or taking out the spokes entirely. This will enable faster speeds and a more efficient ride.